another episode of Think and Grow Rich Mastermind Live. My name is Ann McNeil, and I am the Master Wealth Builder, helping you to build a stronger and better life and business. And I'm very excited today. Well, I'm excited every day, but I'm very excited today because we are talking about a very special subject. And special is the word because it is called specialized knowledge. And specialized knowledge, Napoleon Hill tells us, is literally the fourth step to riches. Desire really is the first, because if you have a desire, then you can take your specialized knowledge and connect it with that desire. But be mindful that there are basically two types of knowledge. One is general, and that's general, that's anything relating to everything. But the other is specialized. And generalized knowledge, when you think about it, no matter how much of it you have, it will never bring you the accumulation of money or wealth or whatever material you desire if it's general. But if you can specialize your knowledge, like most professionals and most experts do, then you can focus all of your energy and your resources on that special area that you desire to achieve. But remember now, knowledge by itself does not attract any money unless it is organized and intelligently directed toward your desire with a set of plans. And so I'm very excited this morning to be your host, but I do have a co host. And I'm also excited about our special guest because our special guest is Miss Diane. And I call you Diane from, you called it VRS, I call it Gina Carr. But she's going to come on and tell us a little bit more about herself. But when you think about the power of this subject, I could not think of any better person who's specializing in his knowledge other than my co host, yes, none other than the man himself, Mr. Galen Bingham. Good morning, Galen. How are you this morning?
Fantastic, fantastic. I'm looking forward to this conversation, and it wouldn't be the same if I didn't mention that in reading this chapter again, I'm finding information that clearly was not there before, and this information is so universal. It's so transformative. It's amazing to me that this was written and published originally in 1937 because it sounds like it could have been written for today's time. And I'm going to read from the top of page 82, where it says the changed economic conditions prevailing since the Depression, or since 2008, or 2020, or whatever you want to say. But in the book it says prevailing since the Depression have made it necessary for thousands of people to find additional or new sources of income from the for the majority of these. The solution of their problem may have been found by only acquiring specialized knowledge. Many will be forced to change their occupations entirely. And that sounds so much like today, right? There are just so many people that are specialized, and they've decided that their corporate job wasn't for them. They're finding this thing that only they seem to be able to do at a certain level, and they're getting more training. And that's what we're talking about. How do you find a solution to any economic concerns that you might have by specializing in something that you're either really passionate about, or something that you seem to have this ability that comes natural to you that others might be willing to pay for? So I'm excited about this conversation. I'm excited about our guest. Let's get it started.
All right, all right. Well, our guest is Miss Diane Bogino. And Diane literally has over 2 decades. Now, you can do the math yourself. All right. But she has over 2 decades of experience as a coach, a behavioral scientist, an entrepreneur, and in a variety of different industries. Hint, 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 industries that specialize. Okay. Diane's perspective for business and building teams, changing cultures, and career development is rare in the coaching field. Her coaching clients are from all over the globe. She's the founder and president of Performance Strategies, Inc. So let's bring Diane on and let's have her share a little bit more about herself. Good morning, Diane. How are you this morning? And
Good
welcome.
morning. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Ah, it's our honor. It's our honor. And like we said, it's so early this morning for some of us. For some of us, right, Galen?
It is for some of us. We're going to talk
Yes.
about that actually.
Yes, yes. But it is an honor actually every single Saturday to come and share. And for some of us, just can't wait to wake up. Now, I don't know who you are, but for some of us, we can't wait to come here and share with you another special guest. So, Diane, could you share a little bit about yourself? We're going to then have Galen go to the 13 steps and share what they're all about. And then we're going to get into our questions. But I want to just make sure you share a little with our audience so they don't leave. It's like the commercial, we just give you just a little bit and make sure you come back for the rest right after this commercial break. So let's have you share a little bit about how did you get here, right? Tell
Right.
us a little bit about your history in terms of what moved you to pick up this book the very first time, let alone this. Galen's going to get to the second and third. But what moved you to pick it up the first time? How did you come into it? If you can share a little bit about that.
Yeah. Well, you can see over here that little black and white book. That
Yeah.
was the first book I bought. And the publication date on that is 1960. So that's how long it's been since I started reading it. And I've read it 3 times. And then the new book that's updated with the new money and everything, I've read that one as well. But what prompted me was low self-esteem, no confidence, having been an abused foster welfare child. Um, I actually thought I was too stupid to go to college, so I didn't go to college until I was in my 40s. So I was always looking for something to find that self-esteem, and it started from there. And that book was a great help. And I think it helped me not to focus so much on myself, but to focus on other people, and to understand that I could help other people who have been through similar circumstances as I was, and actually found myself in HR for a number of years. And I like to tell people I've been on both sides of the HR desk, both hiring people and as a job seeker. And that's what I do now. I help people find better careers. But before I got there, I was in show business. So I was actually a clown one time. And some people say I still am.
Wow. I think just listening to that, and I just made a note. You help people find themselves.
Yes.
You help people find themselves in finding a better self.
Yes. And help them get out of their own way to do it.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. Well, let's take a moment and have Galen share with us those 13 principles that draws all of us back again and again and again. And if you're listening to this for the very first time, second, third, or fourth, we are talking about the principles of the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And so, Galen,
Yeah, yeah. So again, this book was originally written in 1937, and I just continue to be amazed at how universal these principles are. And I'm starting to learn things today that I'm just really intrigued about how the brain works, neuroscience, and so many of those principles find their foundation in this book. So as you take a listen to this video, I'm going to encourage you to pick out the specialized knowledge piece, but think about how specialized knowledge fits into this overall philosophy of 13 steps. You're going to have a deeper appreciation for not only specialized knowledge, which is today's conversation, but you have a deeper appreciation for how this process can actually help you think and grow rich.
Number 1 is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step 2 is faith. having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step 3 is what we call autosuggestion. Autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically, but we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number 4 is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the mastermind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number 5 is imagination, the workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the wild, wild west days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. It's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. Everybody, I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole, everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us, use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, but essentially what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical, but what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. Conscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
All right. So yeah. So those are the 13 principles, and again, I just can't wait to get into this conversation. So Anna, I'll go back to you.
Of course, I have
All
to come
right.
off
So
mute.
yeah. So those are the 13
David,
principles,
I am so
and
sorry. Listen,
again,
too many things, you know.
Too many buttons to push.
Too many things. I want to make sure that I share it with the world so that they can join in. We want to welcome all of our listeners Many of you join us every single Saturday. And so, Dr. Raquel, is special thank you. Gordon, uh, Regina, thank you, everybody, all of you that come in. Please place your questions in the chat on YouTube that you'd like for us to have our guest to answer, or you may have a question for Galen.
Or Anne.
Okay. Listen, I am so excited this morning. I can hardly retain myself. What I'd like to do is have you share um, what motivated you to start your own mastermind group again and again. Can you share with our audience, and how does that relate to the specialized knowledge that you teach?
Right. Was a member of a mastermind group at one time, and I think we were together like 4 years. We met the first Friday of every month. We ate lunch, and then we worked until 4 o'clock. And then we had 2 retreats every year. And that is when I was beginning to really get into the speaking business. So we learned from each other about the speaking business, about each of our own specialized knowledge, because even though we were all speakers, we all had our niches. So there was Kenny Zale, who did game shows, and John Schwartz, aka Vinnie Borelli, you know him. And so we all had the speaking business as that we learn from, but our own niches as well. So we learned from that, and I've been members of other groups. We eventually did break up, but members of other groups. And I recently have started my own mastermind group, Building a Better Career, helping people below the executive level to get to the executive level. That's my niche in terms of building a better career.
Yeah, that's why I said, for me, it is you're helping people find a better self, their better self. And in doing that, I do believe that specialized knowledge is a way to do that. And one of the things that, in preparation for today's podcast, as I was rereading, what came up for me was that there are niches in riches in the niches, if you will, riches in the niches. And so, can you give us an example of your journey and how you've been able to niche with your specialized knowledge? The more you grow and the more you know, you're finding your voice. Can you share with our audience that journey, and what does that look like?
Right. When I was in HR, I noticed how people struggled with their careers, and how oftentimes the organization, not only the one that I was with, but many others, don't necessarily help people or understand how to help people build a career and have a better workforce for themselves. For example, just because somebody's doing a good job, they would make them a manager. That doesn't make them a good manager or a leader, just because
Okay.
they're doing a good job.
Mhm.
And they wouldn't give them any training, Anne. Hello. So I knew what it was like not to feel good about yourself, as I mentioned in the introduction. And I also had this specialized knowledge about the workforce and what it took to be a better worker, understand yourself, get to know yourself, and use your talents, and have the confidence to use your talents. So that's what led me on the journey to begin to help other people find themselves, understand themselves, and then understand how to use that specialized knowledge about themselves, as Galen was talking about earlier.
Now, how beneficial, if any, do you find the principles from this philosophy?
Very.
Awesome.
As you mentioned, that desire has to come first. If you don't have the desire, and some people don't, let's face it, Anne, and there are people out there that are just happy, meandering through life, and that's fine if that's what you really want out of life. But if you want to do something, you have to have that desire first. So that is the beginning. And once you have that desire, then you have to cultivate that desire. You have to take some action. It isn't enough to have a desire. Oh, I think I want to do this. You've got to actually do something.
Yes. Listen, the chat, we want to thank you from Renette Gordon. She just said, Thanks for sharing this. It covers beneficial, this overview every week. It covers the benefits and inspires us to go deeper. But she also said that this topic, I love this topic, specialized knowledge. Uh, Thank you. Grow an individual value. I really want to go back to your journey. Oh, Galen. Galen has a question. Let me pause for a moment. Galen, can we bring you back on screen because I want to make sure we get your questions in. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, so that it was really kind of a challenge to the listeners and to those who are joining us via YouTube. So, first of all, you have to join our YouTube page, IMA Thinking Grow Rich Live, because this is where you get to ask your questions of our guests. And so, my question is, what specialized knowledge might each of us have that we're not monetizing? And so, let me bring that specifically back to you, Ms. Diane. What is it about this idea of having a specialized knowledge and then not valuing it enough to even think of monetizing it? Have you experienced that with either your clients or with yourself? And what is this thing that causes us not to value what other people might value?
Yes. Well, of course, for me, it was, and still is in many cases, the voices in my head from my upbringing of being, worthless when your own parents don't care about you, and in the foster homes for the people that are supposed to take care of you don't. It really leaves some scars. Um, so you have to cultivate that. And that book, Think and Grow Rich, help, and other books have helped. I've got a whole shelf in back there of self-help books. So I read a lot. Thank goodness I was blessed with curiosity. So that continuous learning and getting that specialized knowledge as a coach, having the specialized knowledge of coming through a life that I did, I have a lot of understanding around that, but also around building a career, because here's what happens to people, and this just blows my mind. Let's say somebody has been in the workforce for 12, 15 years, and they decide they want to change positions. Maybe they just want to change jobs, or they want to get a promotion. Maybe they want to go to a different company. Maybe they want to go to a different industry. All of a sudden, in their minds, the experience, what they've built up in those 12 and 15 years is totally useless now. And I just want to shake them. I'm like, are you kidding me? Look at the talent you've developed. Look at the skills you've learned. Look at the experience you have. It's transferable. And you can use that specialized knowledge in other areas. And that is one thing a lot of people fail to understand about themselves. So if they would just do that one thing, that would be very helpful in their journey to success.
I've got another question because you've referenced how impactful this book has been, along with others, but how impactful this book has been to your own healing and your journey into what you're doing now. What is it about this book that causes people, even myself, to want to read it more than once? I've got a number of books that I've read once. I've got a number of books that I've barely read once. Let's be honest. But this book, it seems like every year, multiple times a year, I'm wanting to read it over and over and over again. What is it about this book that causes people to want to read it over and over and over again?
You mentioned something earlier about it. Even though it was written so long ago, it still has appeal today. The stories in it are still relevant, even though there are a lot of things, things were done on a typewriter, whereas today they're done on a computer. But the action that was taken, the mindset, is still valid today. For myself, I can't speak for you, but for myself, the journey, you reach a plateau. Okay, for example, in my 30s, I had an epiphany. it suddenly dawned on me that life shouldn't be like this, that I really shouldn't feel this way about myself because other people don't feel that way about themselves. So I had an epiphany. And that's when I started reading, of course, went into therapy. But as you reach plateaus in life, then you want to go back and refresh yourself. That was my case. Okay, what have I missed here? I'm not doing something right. Something's not working, or this is working, and let me make sure I'm really doing it well. But how could I do it better? So for me, it's just a continual learning and reaching that next plateau. And books like this help because it's so relevant.
Yeah, I think you may be right because there are just so many times I say that I'm convinced someone is sneaking new information into the book, and clearly the book is not changing. I'm changing, and therefore the principles, the pieces, the jewels and gems that I'm attaching to, they become more relevant because of my changed life experience. So
Exactly.
I would absolutely encourage that this is a book that people might want to read more than once.
Yes, yes. You're absolutely right. And we are often sometimes open to things at times when and other times we're not.
Yeah.
So that information can get to us then when we're more open.
Yeah. Hey, I want to bring Ann back in, but first I want to acknowledge Renetta Gordon. She said that she has quite a few areas that she needs to monetize in the mastermind that she leads. We each just list our assets, and we're developing plans to monetize them. Boy, I tell you, that is so powerful. I've got a couple of different accountability groups and mastermind groups and there are things that I have done just because I enjoy doing them. Podcasting is one of them, and it wasn't until people in my mastermind group said, "No, Galen, you're legit got some talent for this. You might want to invest. You might want to get some training. You might want to go ahead and put some work into making this a thing." And I'm so glad that they did because I wouldn't have valued it the same way. And that's the value of having a mastermind or a group of people who can speak into you abilities that you might not be seeing for yourself.
That's
Um,
right.
yeah. So, Ann, what are your thoughts about this conversation so far?
Yeah, I want to go back to something Renette said because I say this every week, focus on one thing at a time. You see, because Renette and all of us, and as you were talking, I thought back on my journey becoming a licensed general contractor. It wasn't about becoming a licensed general contractor. The end goal was the money, and I had to back up to what I needed to do to get the money. All right. And so to get the money, I need to start a business, but start a business to do what? Okay, I was going to do construction, but what kind and what certifications and what information and what people did I need to connect the dots to do the one thing? And I talk about that journey. We talk about this subject and this principle of specialized knowledge because if we're not careful, we will be all over the place and we want to become an expert in this platform and that platform, forgetting an expert in what
Mm.
is not an expert in the platform of LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and all of those things. It's an expert in what one thing. And prior to this podcast starting, Diane and I were talking about our VRS days, our Gina Carr days, I call them. And I was sharing about Clout, the old platform called Clout, where we each came on and we shared a platform a day. But what was so amazing for me in the area of self discovery and specialized knowledge is that you had to choose an expertise to be known as your specialized knowledge. That was so powerful because many of us, we want to share all of this information about all the things that we do. But what's the one thing that you do that you're known as an expert in your industry as specialized knowledge? So, Renette, I love going back and forth with you every single Saturday you come on because you say some wonderful things. And I just want to encourage us consider the desire for an amount of money, going back to principle one, and the 6 steps. How much, doing what, by when? What's your affirmation statement? Read it twice a day, right? But as we learn which area will generate you the most money, then begin to become an expert in that. And then you can pick up another. And Diane, I think you're an expert at this. So can you share with us that journey of what was the first area of expertise, your specialized knowledge? And then the second one you picked up, and then the third one. And it doesn't have to necessarily be in that order, because I think it's very important for our listeners to understand, don't attempt to be all things to all people, because then you just become nothing to everybody because they're not clear. Even your 30-second commercial isn't clear. And that's what I love about being able to dialogue and having the accountability of individuals who, like Galen said, he said his mastermind group said, you can do this. And Galen, what's interesting about that is that all of our mastermind groups, the best ones are the ones where iron sharpens iron. Iron cannot sharpen paper. So if you are in a mastermind group and they're not tightly holding you accountable, it may not be the best one for you. So Diane, if you can share with us that journey.
The journey into understanding behaviors began in show business, believe it or not. When you do a play, you have to analyze your character. And I would sit down and write out every detail about the character that I might be playing. That began to build that foundation of understanding human behavior and what motivates people to do different things. Carrying that into HR, then I could understand real people and had began to understand I had a talent for that. So when I started my own business, that's what I did. Went into my undergrad was in psychology. And then my master's is in industrial organizational psychology. I figured if I could say it, I could pass it. But it's understanding both people and the organization and how to help the organization have better people. But people help themselves by starting with that self-assessment. Self-assessment is the foundation for strategic thinking, leadership, and EQ. So it's easy to see how important that self-assessment is, but it's something that people avoid like the plague. They don't want to go there. It's painful. Yes, it is painful, but so is failure. So beginning with that self-knowledge and understanding yourself, and then you can also understand others. That leads to better communication, greater productivity, and you can build a better career by doing just those things.
Wow, you just hit on something very, very powerful. Napoleon Hill tells us, I'm not sure exactly where it is in the book, but he tells us and suggests that we should do a self-analysis, a self-inventory. And when you talked about self-assessment, what kinds of questions are normally asked during your self-assessment?
I use an assessment called the Trimetrics HD for the level of folks that I work with. And it has 5 assessments in it. The DISC, and almost everybody on the planet is familiar with the DISC.
Yes.
And the DISC, I don't know if you know this or not, but it can tell you if you have a me conflict.
Wow.
And a lot of us do. And in fact, on my Build a Better Career YouTube channel on May the 20th, I think the video that I'll be doing is going to offer an exercise that people can get for free and go through that exercise to see if they have it, even though they're not taking the DISC. But of course, they should take the DISC. Then the other thing in there is there are 12 driving forces. What motivates you? I suspect, Galen, you and probably you too, Ann, are motivated by learning. That's one of our motivators, right? We want to know everything. We don't want to know just what time it is. We want to know how the clock works and why it works that way. The other assessment is the integration of that person's particular behavior and driving forces, how they work for them and how they don't work for them. their business acumen, and 25 of their competencies in rank order. And when they join my Build a Better Career Mastermind group, they get that assessment. They take that first, and we go through that.
Well, let's go there. Let's share with our audience. And I thought it was so amazing when I read your bio and you talked about uh, the new mastermind group you're starting. So can you share with us a little bit more about that, and why would someone be interested in joining your mastermind group for that specialized knowledge focus?
Right. It's people, as I mentioned, that they're maybe not at that executive level yet, but want to get to that executive level. So when they come into the group, and of course, and like you and everyone else, we don't let just anyone into the groups. You have to be vetted first. So once a person's vetted, they get into the group, they take the assessment, they get the learning about themselves, they get that foundation. We go through that assessment together as a group. So now we're learning about ourselves and how to better interact with one another. This is where they begin to take that knowledge about themselves and apply it. Learn how to use what they know about themselves to build the career they want and a better life. So that's why they would join the group that I have.
I am interested. Put it in the chat. Can you put it in the chat, the link here in this chat? And then Brittany, we will take that and we will share it on YouTube. You just hit something very special for me, and that is the power of sharing inside the group, the accountability of
Right.
other. Oh, that is so powerful, and reminds me of the days we were in the mastermind group with Gina Carr, and I think for myself, I learned more listening and watching others. Are you smiling? Are you about to laugh? Are you about to laugh, Diane?
No. I was trying to find the link. I think Brittany has it. Yeah, there it is. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, learning from each other, because we don't understand that other people are experiencing what we experience.
Exactly.
We think we're out there all alone, all by ourselves, and that's just not the case.
It's not.
There are a gazillion foster welfare children out there that have been abused. Okay. I'm not the only one. And sadly enough, my story is not the saddest story out there. There are people who struggle with their career every day, and you would never think they do. They're just going along, smiling, happy. You think they're as successful as anything, and they're just miserable.
Just to look at them, you think, oh, they got it all together. Oh, my.
Right.
Oh,
That's exactly right. And then here's the other thing we do. We compare ourselves to other people.
sadly.
I'm working with a client right now who had said, we actually had a breakthrough on our last meeting just about this very thing. He was comparing himself to other people. And I said, you don't really know what goes on in their lives. Maybe they go home and drink themselves to sleep at night. Who knows? Maybe they're miserable. You don't know. They just look like they're successful and happy. And that's more often the case than not, unfortunately.
And I think for me, that's one of the reasons why I love to read. One of the books I enjoy is The Road Less Traveled.
You mean this one right here?
Right there.
Yes. By M. Scott Peck.
Yes, like minds and like spirits. That's powerful, because when you think about and read about and hear and experience others, it really, I think, helps, I know for me, better understand myself. And I have over each shoulder a book and a picture of Frederick Douglass, each shoulder.
Yep.
And one of the reasons I do that is because I've read everything I can find on Frederick Douglass. Now, we're talking about specialized knowledge now. And for those of you that may be listening and you're wondering, you came on a little late, we're talking to, and Diane, let me help me pronounce your last name properly. Diane
Yes, think of a hair bow, a pair of jeans, and oh, Bogino.
Bogino, and she is an expert in over decades as a coach, a behavioral scientist, if you will. I call an entrepreneur, and she's starting her own another mastermind group, and she's read this book 3 times, Think and Grow Rich. So that's who we're talking to if you came in after we started a podcast. But the reason I have his books behind me and I'm reminded is because he helped me and is helping me to understand it is okay. It is okay to grow your self esteem by reading and writing, but also by making a decision to be the face. And what do I mean? He decided during slavery that his face would be the face of the slave. And I often wondered why every time I saw a picture of Frederick Douglass, he's always, as they used to say back in the day, if you're old enough to remember this, uh, dressed to the nines, dressed to the nines. He's, as a man, he was always dressed in this magnificent way, right? Always in every picture. And I didn't understand that until I read in his own words. He said, I decided that I did not want the picture of a slave to be beaten down, trodden, and always looking miserable. And so I decided that my face, now this is Douglas talking about his face, would be the face of a slave. And Polaroid did the research that he was the most photographed person living during his day. He was photographed more than presidents and dignitaries. But what he would always do is he would take his own picture and he would create postcards, if you can believe this. This is during slavery. And he would send it out to all his friends all over the world. And so when you stop and think about specialized knowledge and marketing and branding yourself in one thing, right? As an intellectual, he decided that's who he wanted to become. I want to ask all of us, who are you deciding to become? What specialized knowledge are you niching to be rich in so that people know you for one thing, not 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 things? So then when they hear somebody needing a service or a skill that you have, they don't think of you because there's too many things that they think you do. And I raised my hand about that too. So I just want to share that, Diane, because you're doing a phenomenal job in specializing your knowledge in your expertise. And so we're going to make sure we share the link for her new mastermind group. And Galen is going to share with us before, because we can go. If you have any other questions, Galen, before we start talking about the annual meeting and the beta test.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to highlight, and I continue to be floored by this, is the actual title of this chapter. We talk about specialized knowledge, and it's kind of shorthand for this principle, but the actual title is specialized knowledge, personal experiences and observations. And so the question that I pose to everyone is what specialized knowledge, but what personal experiences or observations might you be discrediting? And
Mm,
Diane, I would submit to you that a big part of your drive to get even more specialized knowledge are your personal experiences, right? I submit that at the foundation of this work that you're doing, that you're becoming known for, that you're niching, may have something to do with your personalized experiences. And how often do we discredit our personalized experiences thinking, well, that can't be of value to anyone, that's in the past. I'm trying desperately to block that out of my mind.
Right. I agree. I agree. And I want to make a comment about clothes. When you're in the theater, you dress for the role you're playing. In life, you must do the same. I don't know what happened to fashion, but it went out the window somewhere along the way there. And look at you, look at Galen. You're always just pristine, okay?
oh,
You're professionals. And you have to dress the role that you want to play in life.
I love that. I love that. And that actually dittos what Frederick Douglass said. And it might have reminded you of that. And so many times we don't think through those actions.
That's right.
We don't think through them. So Galen's going to share with us a little bit about his experience for the annual meeting.
Yeah. So we've talked a lot about the power of the mastermind, the power of someone speaking into your life, what might be obvious to them and not so obvious to you. One of the places that you can get a big dose of that is at the annual meeting. Each year, the first week in January, we host an annual meeting in Boca Raton, where we discuss our life. We have to come with our life in writing. What were the accomplishments? What were the things that you tried to do that you didn't quite achieve? And then we use that as the foundation for setting goals or communicating our goals for the upcoming year. But not only is there internal work, you're presenting these goals, you're presenting your life in writing to other people who are looking to speak enablement into your plan. They're looking to encourage you. And I can't think of a better place to kickstart your career, but not only kickstart your career and your life for the upcoming year, but also build relationships. Find people who might be part of your mastermind going forward, that you might join their mastermind, that you guys might create a mastermind together, because this life thing can be complicated. And you can do it by yourself, but oh my gosh, you're going to make a whole lot more mistakes than you need to when you could have someone walking alongside of you through life, helping you identify those things that you could be doing differently, that you could be doing better or more easily. So I would encourage everyone to be on the lookout for an opportunity to join the annual accountability meeting January 6th and 7th. 2023 in Boca Raton, Florida. Your life will never, ever, ever be the same. And once you go to one, you're going to be committed and feel compelled to go to one every year, just like me and just like Ann and many others.
Oh, wow. Thank you so very much. Diane, I would like to have you also drop in the chat your YouTube of Build a Better Career, because I really would love to share with our audience that information for those who can follow you on all of your platforms.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Does Brittany have that?
Brittany, if you have it, if you can drop it in the YouTube chat. I just dropped, just a note to have everyone follow you there, because I think
Yeah, thank you.
almost definitely that's a large part of why we do
Mhm.
this, because again, we desire to be a resource for individuals who are desiring to, we are aspiring, if you will, for those who are desiring to have a better quality of life in every area of their life as they specialize their knowledge. But focusing, and I cannot say this enough, focus it on your desire. Focus that knowledge on your desire. There was a question asked earlier about how do I have so many things. I'm not sure who asked that question in the chat, but they talked about having a lot of different things. How do you choose one? And I'd like to suggest one of the ways you can test that hypothesis, if you will, is literally write out each one and how you're going to make money on each one. Then go back and look at principle number one, desire. How much do you want? And look at all of the different ways you think you're going to make money and which one of those will achieve that amount of money. And the specialized knowledge will come out of that, if you will, from your passion and your skill and your expertise. I hope that makes sense, because oftentimes we go down a journey and we're just kind of all over the place, not realizing how to connect your desire to your specialized knowledge to the amount of money you want to make. And that's one quick way you can do that, just on on a sheet of paper with a pencil or a pen. All right. So we're going to go ahead and prepare to wrap up. Diane, were you going to say something?
No, I think that's good advice. One question I ask people is, what did you pretend to do when you were 7 years old?
Oh, I love that.
That gives them a clue.
I love that. I love that. And oftentimes, whatever that passion is can become your purpose and can be turned into profit. But
Absolutely.
it takes prior planning on purpose. Love that.
You are right. You are
Listen,
right.
I'm living it, living it, living it. And that's why every day, I don't get it right every day, but because I live in these principles, it helps me at least once a week to stay a little bit more focused than others. And I keep sharing this all the time that when we think about the money, seldom do we focus on making the money make money. That's another podcast for another day. So I am starting to rebrand myself as the hashtag baby billionaire mom and beginning to teach financial empowerment and the value of a $20 bill invested over 20 years and what it can do to revolutionize your life without any education, without any degrees, without a PhD, and without all of the things we think that are so very important. Because again, we're taught how to make the money. We are not taught how to make the money make money.
That's right.
And that is empowering. That is empowering. I say that I have some noise in the background. My daughter just returned from Paris after almost 2 or 3 weeks. Retired before the age of 30, 6 figures, and will hit seven before the age of 40. Just got back just like less than 12 hours ago. And so when you think about our age and how we've been taught to think and grow richer, we have the responsibility to self educate the specialized knowledge. You see, her specialized knowledge was investing 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. And so when we think about Edison and the 10,000 hours that he put in, what I think is so interesting in rereading this chapter is that um, third grade education, third grade education Edison had. Ford, around the same. Carnegie, not much more than that. Hmm. Listen, I love these. I love these. Why? Because our desire here every single Saturday is to prompt us to think and grow richer. But how do you do that? I'm suggesting, like Diane said, you do some self inventory, self analysis, sign up for her mastermind, sign up for her YouTube, sign up for our YouTube too, of course. Go do that, of course. Go to Think and Grow Rich Mastermind Live and subscribe. But you have the responsibility. That was my aha as recent as last night in preparation for this podcast. I have the responsibility to think and grow richer. But how do I do that? Continue to connect with us here. Diane, we're going to go ahead and prepare for our closing remarks. So we're going to ask you to go first and give your aha moment, thoughts, or anything that may have popped up for you during this podcast. And then Galen's going to share with us how people can reach him and all the wonderful things that he's doing as he is branding himself as an expert to think and grow richer with his podcast and his coaching and his mastermind groups. So, Diane.
Yes, I've heard it before, but Galen brought it home again about how we dismiss what we know. And just because something happened in the past and just because it happened to us, we give it no credibility. But we must take what we know in our experiences because that is our specialized knowledge and it's all we have. And that's what we take to develop our special niches because that is, as Ann says, there are riches in niches and digging down and also applying that knowledge. And when you get that wealth, making it work for you, because there's a saying that any idiot can make money, but it's keeping that money that's important.
Mm.
Wow, keeping it and making it grow. Thank
That's
you,
right.
Galen.
Yeah, one of the things that I really reflected on as we had this conversation is I reflected on some advice that I got from you, Miss Ann, several years ago. And I think at the time I was still in corporate America and I was struggling with some businesses I was trying to create and this possible transition to entrepreneurism. And you made the comment that I think is applicable today, and that is we should never invest more time and effort into building someone else's brand that we're not willing to invest into building our own. And that's what this is about. How do we understand the elements and do the things that go into building our own brand, building our own knowledge, building our own image? We talked about how image and how you dress, how you present yourself has to be consistent with who you're trying to communicate that you are to the rest of the world. And that's what this is about. One of the things that I'm really excited about is these jewels of information that we can get from just talking to other people, and that's really the impetus behind my podcast, Whiskey, Jazz, and Leadership. We talk to leaders in a variety of industry all over the world, and they talk about the whiskeys that they drink, the jazz music that they listen to, but from their perspective, what does it really take to be effective, not only as a leader, but to be effective in life? And so I double dog dare you to find Whiskey, Jazz, and Leadership on any podcast platform. We're streaming all over the world, 20 different countries. On every platform. Try us just once. I guarantee you, you will learn at least something that will allow for you to have a more effective life. And this has been a great conversation. And I'm so glad that I accepted the challenge to join us early this morning, as we do every Saturday morning.
All right. All right. Thank you, everybody. And again, my name is Ann McNeil, and I am the master wealth builder, helping you to build a stronger and better life and business. And you can connect with me by going to annmcneil.com/coaching. If you desire to have a better quality of life in every area of your life, as a part of our Clarity Mastermind, where we focus on helping you really dig deeper into your specialized knowledge in your craft, in your skill, in your industry. But you must be willing to do the work. And Diane, you've helped me today in really getting a little better clarity about the fact that we all are helping individuals build a better self.
Yes.
And the self connects with your business, it connects with your life, it connects with your family, and all of those things you're able to have a better self when you are willing to do the self inventory. So I would encourage all of you, please connect with our special guest today. Diane, you have been a jewel, you have been a joy. And I'm glad I remembered when you said about VRS. Uh, Gina, I call it Gina Carr's tribe. We're all a
Yeah.
part of hundreds of
Right.
thousands of us a part of Gina Carr's tribe.
That's
And
right.
so I decided actually today to reconnect because we can get so busy in our own specialized knowledge, we may tend to forget how we got here.
That's right.
And I
Right.
know Gina has been a phenomenal part, I think, of both of our lives, if you will.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, and helping us get here. And actually specializing because she really, I think, is an expert and specializing in one thing at a time. Now, I'm not going to call any other names. They're over here and they're over there and they're over there, but she's focused
Mm-hmm.
using that platform and
That's
she
right.
brings in one thing at a time and then all the experts for that one thing. And so, thank you so very much for being our guest today and all of our guests in the chat. Please remember, share. Share this podcast with at least 10 people and then come back next week and tell us who you shared it with and bring them with you. Because as Galen and I and our team continue to learn, how do I share this? How do we do this? And one of the things that I'm realizing, specialized knowledge again, is that you can outsource the specialized knowledge you need. You don't need to be an expert in it. And that's what this chapter and this principle teaches all of us. I don't need to know how Zoom works, how StreamYard works. I need to hire the very best to do that. But I need to be focused on the one thing that I want to promote on the platform. So, Galen, Diane, thank you both. And Peter, Dr. James, we wish you well as you travel, and the same for you, Begin, so that we will continue to share this phenomenal philosophy and Think and Grow Rich. But until next time, we'll see you next time. And we have a special guest for next week. And our special guest is, yes, it is a surprise. It is us. All right. So join us next week as we continue to think and grow richer with this philosophy. All right, everybody. See you next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.